What up, chat? It's
What
Live and Learn,
up?
your favorite show with all 5 of your favorite liberals, except I ate Josiah. So there's only 4 of us today. Welcome,
God
welcome, welcome. We got a lot of
damn.
fun topics. By fun, I mean existential and awful. I am your, temporary host, the Soy Pill. With me is Pisco, IRI, and Hutch. How's it
Oi.
going, boys?
What up? What up?
What
Yo,
up, folks? What are we doing? What's going on? RRI. I love this little black, what is this? A sweatshirt you got going? I think it looks good.
I thought you were talking about
thank
Obama.
you, brother.
Yeah. Wait,
I love
I'm not
that
talking
black
about
guy
Ob-
you got. Who's that black guy you got back there, dude?
Did I say that? Oof. I'm allowed to say it. I'm Hispanic. Isn't there some kind of like other minorities can, say
You got the pass,
controversial
bro.
jokes?
You could drop the
I have the
N-word.
pass. Whoa, we just
Well,
went
I'm just
there.
saying.
We haven't had an N-bomb on Live and Learn yet. I mean, at some
Hispanics
point-
can say it, so you might as well use it, bro.
Have you ever heard Asians say it?
Yes,
I've heard that before.
I used to say it when I was in high school in the
Whoa.
90s. With
That's
the
why
A,
they called him pretty fly for a
with
white
the A.
guy because he was not scared to say the N-word.
What's
Great
happening
start,
to our
guys.
country,
Great start. We're
guys?
totally not getting
We're
canceled
not
on this
live,
one.
are we?
Oh shit. Yeah, no. I accidentally hit the live button, Pisco. It's totally happening
shit.
already. Yeah.
God damn.
All right, guys,
Well,
let's,
I'm
yeah.
scared.
You're scared? What are you scared
Yeah,
of,
I'm
Pisco?
scared.
Is it because you're Hispanic?
It's not because I'm Hispanic. Although, who knows? The ICE might stop me some of these days. Did you see they reinstated the ICE guy who pushed that woman? Because
yeah.
to give you guys some context, there was this woman who was obviously very despondent that her partner is being deported or whatever, and she's like, please, whatever. And then the ICE guy just throws her into the side of the wall. And initially, the response from Trisha McLaughlin or whoever was in charge of the comms that day was like, we do not stand for this. This is beyond the pale, and ICE will never represent this. And then it just reinstated them, and they're like, oh, actually, we do stand for this.
Yeah, it's really similar to. Do you guys remember when the Doge people were being fired for saying things like normalize Indian hate and just the most egregious even the people who put plausible deniability on the racist couldn't defend it because it's like, oh yeah, they're literally just saying I hate people that are not like me. And then JD Vance, who has an Indian wife, came out and was like, well guys, let's not be too hasty. I mean, they are saving the country. And then they reinstate them. It's reminding me of that, where if the administration pushes back against the pushback, then it's like, oh, okay, no, it's okay no matter how awful and evil they are. President says, go ahead, and we'll
And
bring it back.
Vivek came out in favor of unbanning. Speaking of Indian, solidarity with MAGA, Vivek came out in favor of reinstating Nick Fuentes and Alex Jones on YouTube. Believe it or not.
Wow. Well, Vivek's got some making up to do since he called white people lazy on Twitter and got banished to running for governor in Ohio.
He did some incel speech on Twitter, and then everyone roasted him for it.
He's been gone ever since.
Yeah, he hasn't been. Well, he's running for Ohio governor, IRI, and he's
wow.
probably gonna win. Isn't that right? Isn't he up by a
Maybe.
bunch of points?
I think
That's depressing.
Sherrod Brown's running, and that might carry over whoever the Democrats have up as well. 2 statewide races.
All right,
Wasn't there a rumor it was going to be that rep? I forget his name. He ran against someone of prominence. There's an Ohio rep. Sorry. Go on.
Well, we got a lot to cover today.
Yeah, we got a
to be
lot to
honest
cover.
with
We
you.
might want to jump in. I guess the first thing I wanted to talk about was the Comey indictment. Not a stranger to pressure from the Trump admin. He got fired in the first Trump term, but Pisco, you've been talking about this a lot, so I want to know the lawyer brain. How valid are these claims? What did he do? Is this lawfare, or is Comey just a really bad guy? Should we worry about this?
Totally lawfare, very obvious lawfare. The first thing is clearly, president get involved in the internal charging decisions of the DOJ, something that Biden never did. There's no evidence of that, even though that's what they said was so horrible, was that Biden got involved in Merrick Garland and he got involved in the charge decision of special counsel. So that's number one, is the interference from the White House into the DOJ prerogatives, which is, I think, pretty unprecedented at this level and this blatantness. Then number two, they initially, multiple prosecutors reviewed this charge. This is Bill Barr, this is Durham, this is also the recently installed U.S. attorney, Trumper attorney in the Eastern District of Virginia, and they all said there's no case here. And Trump fired
insurance attorney, just to be clear.
Well, That's the new one, right? So they had this old Trump-aligned U.S. attorney that they had just installed like this term, and then fired him because he was like, "There's no case here," and installed the insurance person with no experience, who's just like, "This is her first prosecution ever." So
who was in a Miss America contest with Erica Kirk, which is
not
fucking
that there's
crazy.
anything. Oh, really? With Erica Kirk?
Yeah.
And there's, okay, well, the less said about that, the better. But in terms of the substantive, because that's what you were asking about, like what's actually going on here, this is relating to testimony that he gave Comey in 2020 that relates back to testimony from 2017, where basically he's asked, did you ever give authorization for anybody at the FBI to be an anonymous source for the news for the Trump investigation or the Clinton investigation specifically? And there's a bunch of different theories about like basically how he might have lied, but all of them are fundamentally flawed at the most basic level. And the grand jury already rejected a separate theory related to another kind of like false statement allegation related to testimony given to Lindsey Graham. That's it at a high overview. The case is like fundamentally flawed. I can get into the theories if you want to get into the nitty-gritty, but that's the overview.
Can you comment real quick about the length of the indictment? Is it normal for indictments to be like 1 page?
It's not like illegal for them to be that long. There are some indictments that are basically just running through the elements. If you guys remember, especially in the New York case for the business fraud allegations against Trump, a lot of them were like going through the elements here. And they were just like listing off what constituted the business records. But in these big federal cases, usually you have like more meat there. So I would say it's unusual of a case of this significance not to have any kind of narrative there. The indictments doesn't even include any utterance made by Jim Comey, like nothing. It's all the statements that were asked to him that arguably he adopted. But the indictment itself does not include any statement made by Jim Comey. I'm wondering whether or not I don't know the case law on that, whether or not that will make it a defective charging document. And also there's the question of malicious or selective prosecution, usually a super high bar. But because of Trump's statements and his interference, this is like the strongest case I've ever seen of selective or malicious prosecution, which is, like I said, a very, very high bar. But Trump is like directly linking the charging of Comey for statements about Hillary Clinton. So this is allegedly a disclosure about Hillary Clinton, not even Donald Trump, nothing to do with Russiagate, just about Hillary Clinton. Similar, it reminds you of the rationale for firing Comey in the first place, where the official story was, we fired Comey because he was too mean to Hillary Clinton.
Right. Yeah.
So the indictment has nothing to do with Russiagate. It's to do with disclosures about Hillary Clinton. And Trump, in his messages, is saying he's linking it directly to the indictments of him and the impeachment of him, which, if you guys recall linear time, that all occurred post, at the earliest, the first impeachment was 2019, 2 years after Comey was fired. I mean, Comey hasn't been in government for 8 years. So this entire thing is a fucking shit show. Even conservative commentators, National Review, are acknowledging this is a weak as fuck case. And like I said, if you really want to get into the nitty gritty, I can tell you more about the different theories. But yeah.
I do want to ask about the selective prosecution part, because my understanding is that could cause a judge to throw it out. And I believe the case has been assigned to a Biden judge. So what are the chances the case gets thrown out? I hope it doesn't happen, because I want this to go to trial so Trump can be made a fool. But if the judge throws it out, then they're just going to be like, see, a Democratic judge threw it out or whatever.
Yeah. So the starting assumption is that these selective prosecution cases are really, really hard to demonstrate, because there's prosecutorial discretion that gives a great deal of leeway to prosecutors on which charges to bring. So, for example, let's say that you are a black person and you're saying, I was only charged because I was black. The standard of evidence to show that that's why you were charged as violation of the 14th Amendment, a violation of equal protection or violation of due process, that is super, super high. They're going to assume like a bunch of stuff in favor of the prosecutor. However, can you imagine like a police officer said, we are charging this person because they're black, or we're charging this person because they're a Democrat or a Republican or something like that. When you have that impermissible rationale and you're not supposed to use the prosecutorial authority to settle political grievances, that is like per se, like not a justifiable rationale for prosecution. When it's that clear, the legal commentators are all kind of saying that if any case is going to be strong, and again, very, very high standard, it would be this one. And so no one has made a prognosis on it, and I would never feel comfortable saying majority going to get dismissed. But this is the strongest case that people have seen selective prosecution in decades.
Now, like the insane cope coming from right wingers is that they're claiming that Biden set the precedent for this. So we should unpack that a little bit. There's no evidence whatsoever that Biden in private or in public put any kind of pressure on Merrick Garland or any other attorney to bring charges against Donald Trump. I've
But
seen cope from like,
do you recall that Donald Trump was convicted while Biden was president?
I do. Well, yeah. In
Well,
the,
okay. Well, that's the end of the
yeah,
story.
yeah.
I've perceived everything I need to. I've learned everything I need to. I don't even know why he was charged, but ultimately that means that everything we do now is completely reciprocal and warranted,
Yes.
right?
Yes. So I was seeing some insane cope from Scott Jennings on CNN, who cited a Politico report that Biden had privately told people in his cabinet or in his immediate orbit that he was frustrated with Merrick Garland for dragging his feet with respect to Donald Trump. The problem is that article came out in February of 2024, well after those indictments came down. The fact is, there's nothing whatsoever to indicate that Biden had any role in any of Donald Trump's indictments.
And no evidence that he authorized that statement to be given. No evidence whatsoever that his frustration with Merrick Garland carried over to Jack Smith. Jack Smith is the person who actually did the charging decision. And so, yeah, just zero evidence whatsoever of interference or pressure at all.
Now, we do have a precedent for this, which is Richard Nixon. We got to go back 50 years. Nixon, when he was president, he did put pressure on his DOJ to go after political enemies. And it was after his presidency, after he resigned in scandal, that we implemented norms with respect to DOJ to give it independence, which just kind of makes sense on its face. Like if you're in a liberal democracy and one of the pillars of a liberal democracy is the rule of law, it is inconceivable that we would want the head of the executive branch to be able to wield DOJ like a personal weapon against his enemies. Pisco, I got one more question for you. Does Trump's decision, because he didn't go this far during his first term. During his first term, he would put out tweets. You know, he would be pressuring Barr and what was Jeff Sessions to take
Barr,
to take particular actions. But to my knowledge, he never explicitly called for anybody to be prosecuted. He never signed any like memorandum or any kind of executive order ordering DOJ to do that. Did the fact that he did it this time, did that have to do with the immunity ruling?
Well, no. I
wait,
think
before you answer that, he deleted that post, Hutch. So come on, it doesn't count. He deleted that Dear Pam post.
He signed executive orders, like ordering DOJ to investigate like Comey and Schiff and a couple other people, I think, right?
Yeah, and he's been very clear about that. I want to channel Josiah for a second to answer your question. Trump did and has called for people, even in his first term, to be prosecuted while he was president. So famously, the Bidens.
He didn't order people the way he did the
Correct.
second term, right?
He didn't quite wield the power in the way that he's wielding it now, where he's literally firing his own appointee who says, I can't bring this charge, ordering Pam Bondi to get it done, and implementing and installing someone whose only qualification is that she will get it, will do that. So he has never used it like this, where he's actually deliberately inserted himself to initiate a political prosecution with the powers that he's wielding thus far. That said, he did call on people while he was president to be prosecuted. He and a lot of his interference had more to do with the defensive side, where he's like, I'm going to fire the special counsel, or I'm going to fire Sessions because you didn't protect me enough. And this is very much much more shifted to offense. He was offensive, I think, still in his first term, but significantly more shifted towards offense. And this is way, I would say, 100 times worse than Watergate, what was alleged. You mentioned the immunity decision, right? Under the immunity decision, I don't even know what Richard Nixon did that was wrong. He is exercising the constitutional exclusive power of removal, I guess. They're going to overturn, by the way, Humphrey's executor at some point. That's another Supreme Court decision that came out. And so in that, what? He's obstructing justice by firing someone? Trump did that. That was just one component of what he did in this entire saga. And so, yeah, I think that part of the reason why he's able to do this is A, he has his cronies in the DOJ, and so he's not getting enough internal pushback. And 2, the courts are all supporting him. And 3, what's the consequence? Is anyone going to be able to bring any charge based on Trump's interference here? No. So I think all of that, it's the new administration, it's this feeling of powerfulness. There's no internal pushback. And yes, the courts in the Trump versus United States, that's giving him this sense of grandeur and that he's untouchable.
Well, it sounds a little desperate. From my understanding, this interim U.S. attorney in Eastern Virginia was the only one who signed the indictment. Normally, line prosecutors sign it, not even the U.S. attorney. So it doesn't even sound like anyone wants to prosecute this. But curveball, and I'm curious what you guys think. I watched an interview with Michael Cohen, and he said Comey's going to be found guilty. And he said that's because he believes the DOJ has been weaponized by all administrations and that there's going to be internal emails or something that we don't know that they're going to use and introduce in court that will prove that Comey lied. What do you guys think?
No way. No way. If they had those documents, they would have released them publicly already. I think that it's inconceivable. And it was already, this shit has already been reviewed internally by John Durham, who was itching to get an indictment for something related to this matter. It was already investigated by the Inspector General. And so if they had internal communications, if they had emails, if they had, the truth is, no one has alleged that James Comey authorized this, the leak about Hillary Clinton with respect to the McCabe theory and this Dan Richmond theory. Every article that people are quoting that this is the article in which there was a disclosure, he's being quoted, right? Like Dan Richmond is saying who he is. And so by the terms of the statement, which is, did you authorize an anonymous person at the FBI? And Dan Richmond, this like friend of James Comey, was arguably not even at the FBI. He was a special government employee, not employed by the FBI, arguably like not even at the FBI. They're all quoting him as a person, so it's not anonymous. So the theories are all totally fucked, whichever way you slice it. There's no available evidence. And if there was such evidence, I think Kash Patel would have released it in those tranche of documents. They've already released a bunch of documents related to these matters. And so I really don't think that there's any there. And I think Michael Cohen, he's a little bit full of shit, to be honest.
We also know that Comey is, like, by all accounts, everything we know about this guy is that he's just a straight up Boy Scout. So it's almost inconceivable that he would do something that would risk such legal exposure.
His Instagram video was great. He's like, bring the trial. I'm innocent. It was just like Joker mode into the camera. Let's do it.
It doesn't even make sense because if you take the McCabe theory, which is that Comey told McCabe to do a leak, it doesn't make sense because McCabe doesn't allege that, and the government hasn't even like approached him to interview recently. He's already been interviewed before, but they haven't approached him recently to ask him. He would be the only fact witness to allege it. He doesn't allege it, and also the deputy FBI director, he's authorized to make those disclosures, so he wouldn't need to seek approval from Comey to do this. And if you take the Dan Richmond theory, like I said before, he's not an employee of the FBI, and he was not anonymous when he was being sourced, and Comey has been very open about the fact that he talked to Dan Richmond and confided in him, that kind of stuff. And so he wasn't hiding the ball there. And so they have to make the case that Comey lied. And the grand jury has already rejected one of the theories. That is not a good sign for the prosecution, given that usually, it's just the prosecutor and the grand jury there, and they have all the evidence of the government. And so a grand jury will indict a ham sandwich. That's the meme, because it's very, very easy to clear that bar. And the fact that part of the case has already been dismantled, I think, is not a good sign for the prosecution.
And what do you guys see? Like, why is this being done? Is this still retribution for 2016? Is this because of the 8647 post, or is this like?
No, Donald Trump is vindictive. He will hold a grudge for years. It's just personal retribution, like pretty transparently, I think.
I think Donald Trump is counting on a judge to throw it out so that he can say, see, these judges are corrupt, and he doesn't even want it to go to trial. He just wants the blemish on Comey's reputation. And that's it, really. So he can talk about it till the end of time.
Well, even people like who are super in the weeds on this Russiagate stuff. I'll give an example here. Andrew McCarthy, he's from the National Review, and he's out to sea, in my opinion, on a lot of the Russiagate stuff. And he has, I think, absurd conclusions on different matters. But even he's saying this is like bullshit case, needs to be dropped right away. It's not a strong case. I expect it not to go to trial. If it does go to trial, that might even just be a tactical or principled decision from Comey, who wants to go to trial to vindicate himself. I wouldn't put that past him to do that. But that's, I think, the best way this would go to trial. I think it's so weak that it might not even get there.
Well, the last time Trump tried to fuck with Comey was, in the same year, McCabe and Comey were audited by the IRS, which is just, like literally what are the odds of that? And when they did that, they found that he over-reported. So he got like a $400 refund, something like that.
That's hilarious.
That was the last time they tried to fuck with him. So I don't know.
That's like when they audited. That's like when they audited in Arizona, I think it was, the 2020 election results, the cyber ninjas, and they found Biden got more votes. Like, thanks.
Yeah.
That was one of the best moments.
Maybe this one gets
confirming his
thrown out.
victory.
Maybe it's just posturing. But overall, I mean, this segues great into our kind of overall topic of fascism, the big scary word. Which, by the way, if you even say that to your political opponent, that's calling for their death. So just even if they are fascist, you aren't allowed to call them that. I want to let everyone know. In fact, we are calling no one here fascist because we wouldn't do that. This is a peaceful podcast of 4 peaceful people. Josiah, I can't speak for, but we would never call anyone
violent.
fascist because that would mean
He's
that
very
we're saying
violent.
they should be killed, right? Guys, we're all in agreement there.
Well, then Trump's in trouble because there's like clips of him going around calling Kamala and Democrats fascist last year. And there's like a meme of Stephen Miller's tweets, like 20 of them calling people fascist. So these
They all
guys are in
fucking
big
say
trouble.
it.
Yeah.
JD Vance called him fucking America's Hitler. So no one actually believes this whole standard that like if you say someone's a fascist, that you're calling for their death. It doesn't make any sense. It's not what the word means. Now, might some people justify your death if you are a fascist? Yeah, I don't do that necessarily. I really don't do that. I don't believe in political violence or anything. I'm just saying the word doesn't mean that you're calling for someone's violence. It would be like saying someone, accusing someone of doing a crime, of some horrible crime, let's say, and saying that that's what they did. They are this thing. They did, for example, like assault a woman. They're a woman beater or something. If you were to accurately say that, that might cause certain people to think it's justified to hurt you. But it wouldn't mean that you're calling for the death of that person or people to hurt that person. It makes no sense, and it like flies in the face of their usage of that word.
It's also the group of people that have been saying kill your local pedophile and then calling every single Democrat, the party of pedophiles.
Right.
It's like, if anyone has a claim to you're calling for all of our deaths, it's kind of us when you say literally all of us support grooming and kidnapping children. So it's just ridiculous. And also they keep doing fascist shit, so we shouldn't stop calling them that.
True.
If we were to actually adhere to this standard, if we were to actually adopt this standard as a country, you would never be able to sound the alarm about impending fascism. Like if we were actually creeping towards fascism, which is, I think all 4 of us might argue that that's happening to one degree or another right now. But if it was a more extreme example, we just wouldn't be allowed to talk about it because that would be inciting violence, which is just,
That's
of
the
course,
Sitch standard.
a ridiculous standard that no liberal, like no sound of mind liberal should ever even for a minute entertain this standard.
Hutch, you're on the front lines and you're saying, everyone hold the F word until you see the swastika on their flag. You cannot say it. Hold.
This is the literal Sitch standard and the actual Justice Warrior standard. I was listening to Sitch talk to Soy Pill here, and he's like, not until I lose the right to vote will I call them a fascist. And I'm like, dude,
wow. Too
what
late.
the fuck are you? Where are you getting that from? And AJW the same thing when he says anti-democratic. Like, and Soy Pill's like says to Sitch, he goes, "Well, isn't it bad enough? And can't we ascribe that intentionality in terms of fascism with the fact that he tried to steal your right to vote?" He's like, "No, they have to complete it first." I'm like, where the fuck is this coming from? Yeah,
wannabe dictator Pisco. That's
wannabe
authoritarian. But he didn't do it. Like it's just I guess it's that bigotry of low expectations for the president of the United States. Well, I know he can't actually do it. He's a big dumbass.
Well, they're gonna need to take away people's right to vote because I don't know if you guys saw. Do you guys follow a channel called Let's Talk Elections on YouTube?
Yes. Is this where you're geting your copium of elections? Because I'm all for it because I've been a little black-pilled recently.
Here's a really solid dose of hopium for you. So he cited an Atlas poll that came out recently. Are you guys familiar with Atlas Intel?
Yeah, was it like -6 or 7 Trump, or was it more than that?
No. So in both, I think 2020 and 2024, they were the closest. Like they had, I think in 2020, they were within 0.2 percentage points. And in 2024, it was like 0.3 or 0.4 or something like that.
Right. Yeah, I'm just being like, what was their result? Yes, they were like the closest by far in the last 2 election cycles.
Yeah.
But
So
did you know what they?
I don't remember exactly, no, but no, I think they predicted that Trump would win. But so Nate Silver aggregated, or it might have been G. Elliott Morris. One of them aggregated like 97 of their polls, and they found that they had the best track record of any pollster in the country right now. And so this poll that came out last week was just fucking devastating for Donald Trump. It showed Democrats up 10 points on the generic ballot right now, which tracks nicely with of the amount of people that voted for Donald Trump, how many would vote for a Democrat coming up in the midterms? And they found that 10% of Trump voters plans to vote for a Democrat in the next midterm elections. Of the people that voted for Kamala Harris, that number is like 0.2%. So there's like barely any movement whatsoever. And I think most importantly, it showed that his numbers right now with independents have fallen off of a fucking cliff, like between like 20 and 40 point drop. It's like 30% approve, 60% disapprove. These are just devastating numbers, and they correspond with what we're seeing in special elections across the country over the last few months, or basically since 2024. I think Democrats are averaging around a 15-point overperformance across special elections all over the country. We had a really good night. Was it last week with a really good result in Arizona? So it's just not looking great for the Republican Party right now. And, to tie it back to something that we spoke to before, it kind of, in a way, vindicates Chuck Schumer just a little bit. I feel like we've already talked about that, but like he called, he basically predicted that this administration would not be very popular by the time this budget shutdown looms.
We'll get to the shutdown, Hutch. I mean, we'll see if you and IRI are going to come out on top of this, and Schumer really has his master plan that he's been planning for 8 seasons of Game of Thrones, and it all works out. Right. And it's not some weird thing where they rug pull him and he says, "Oh, sorry, I had to vote yes on the budget because they decided they didn't want to come to the table." But we'll see. Wow. We'll get to that. But I do want to talk about the fascism thing. Oh. Sorry.
How dare you do Charles dirty like that?
Charles Schumer. Have you guys seen this national security presidential memorandum? I'm going to bring this up on screen.
Oh, bro. This is from Klippenstein's reporting, right?
I'm just going direct from the White House. We can talk about what Klippenstein saw on this thing and his reporting on it, but just this report in general and what it's declaring. I want Pisco's analysis of this, the legal implications of this thing.
Yeah, I haven't read it, but I've heard about it. To me, they're announcing Antifa is like a domestic terror organization, and from what I saw, the little of the Ken Klippenstein reporting is that certain topics or categories, including like un-Americanism and shit like that, and these like very broad and nebulous categories of political speech are considered like intensifiers or indicators of domestic extremism / terrorism. So yeah, it's authoritarian shit.
How bullish are you on, because a lot of people I feel like are blackpilled these days about like our institutions, the guardrails. How bullish are you guys on the guardrails holding in this particular case, which would be the courts, right? So like, as far as I'm aware, Antifa has no organizational structure. You can't like send money to anybody if you're going to like fund Antifa.
Donating to the Soy Pills Patreon directly funds Antifa. So if anyone was thinking about doing that.
But I mean, all of this is to try to set up Antifa as this organized structure, and they're trying to, he floated Soros's name. Do you guys have a lot of faith that the courts are just going to reject a lot of the stuff that comes out of this, or?
I do, yeah. Right. I think Soros is about to catch a RICO investigation, but I don't think they're going to find anything. And Antifa is decentralized anyways. There's no leader. There's no source of funding. So it just seems like posturing by Donald Trump.
I don't think it's likely that the courts would approve of a kind of prosecution for, like, for example, calling someone a fascist or that kind of shit. I don't think that they're likely to like overturn their precedent there.
Well, pull up Klippenstein's reporting. Pull up that.
Yeah,
have you seen that, Pisco? Have you seen this?
The NS whatever 7.
Yeah. The criteria that they're using to look.
I haven't had the chance to. Yeah, I saw un-Americanism. I saw using like the term fascist,
anti-capitalism.
That kind of shit.
No, but some of it is really bizarre. It's like if you're critical of like traditional gender norms or something, there it is.
Yeah, hostility towards those who hold traditional American views on family, on religion, and morality. So whatever, I was going to say vague and ambiguous, but of course they've defined that as, it's the nuclear family. And if you show any hostility towards that, if you say America has done bad things, if you say anything that is against the Republican narrative of like the 1619 Project, or what did they, maybe the one that countered that, that's like, well, this is like the American education we have to put in schools. Now you're an enemy of the state, like an anti-American, dissident. It's like this is the fascism that we talk about when it's like you're cracking down on people just questioning whether or not your official narrative of how our history works is true.
I mean, this set of criteria is so broad that it can encompass like over 250 million people. I mean, like literally, like the vast majority of people in the country probably have something that might fit this mold.
Which is why I think that there's strength in numbers. And also, yes, the administration is going to start baseless and stupid investigations. The courts are very unlikely to interfere in the investigation aspect of what the government is doing here. They've been very reluctant to jump into that. But the minute that there's a charging document, I think that the courts have served us pretty well so far as that's concerned. And I don't think that they're likely to allow for this kind of shit, to prosecution based on pure speech. But that's not the point. The harm is being done right now by the chilling effect. And the best thing you guys can do as a community, the live and learn community, and whoever else you know, is encourage them to call them fascist. Keep calling them fascists and don't stop calling them fascists. And don't stop saying that they're fucking pieces of shit, fascist. And the minute you see, it actually is praxis. If you see a tweet from Stephen Miller, put fascist underneath it. Put your fucking, ball sack looking ass. Like, put all that shit. That's praxis. Keep speaking out. Keep protesting. Keep talking all that good shit. I know you'll do it. Strength in numbers, and they can't get all of us.
I want to clarify on that point, Pisco, just because I saw some people doing this. Doing the opposite of what they're mad at isn't necessarily the best thing. Obviously, you want to call Stephen Miller fascist if he's a fascist. But let's say you don't have anti-nuclear family sentiment. That doesn't mean you should now go on Twitter and be absolutely go fuck yourself if you are married and have 2 kids. Or I'm going to take a handful of Tylenol because I'm pregnant. It should be your true opinions.
Yeah, don't be
afraid
stupid.
Of that. Don't be stupid about it. But I have seen some people being dumb about it, just to be clear.
Well, it's just interesting. It's interesting to get such a a concrete sort of outline for what they're targeting. And my mind goes to the upcoming subcommittee hearing where the CEOs are going to show up. I have a feeling that a lot more people in this country are going to know the name Hassan Piker in about a week, because they are going to show like a sizzle reel of some of his greatest hits over the years in that subcommittee hearing. If I had to guess, probably going to be at least Stefanik. And as much as I disagree with Hassan, which I do like 95% of the time,
really?
there is something
talk about him much.
There is something that is deeply alarming about the possibility of this administration and the full weight of the federal government going after him. You know what I mean? And I feel he's not going to be the only one, right? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, you're so right. I will stand shoulder to shoulder with Destiny, with Hassan, with Vosh, with fucking Taylor Lorenz, with any of these people, some of whom have beliefs I don't agree with, some of whom other people have mischaracterized, some of who have been properly characterized sometimes. But I will stand shoulder to shoulder with them in defense of free speech and this kind of government corruption. I think it's totally inappropriate for the government to be using its power to basically be highlighting the speech of private Americans for no other purpose but to chill dissent and to go after their enemies. I think that that's fucking disgusting. And if people start playing into that for little points within their communities, I'm going to be calling that out hard. We should not be legitimizing this kind of inquiry.
They're going to go so hard on Dan Clancy. He's going to face so much pressure to ban Hassan. And like there have been times where I feel like Hassan has deserved some kind of disciplinary action, but I don't know if I've ever advocated for somebody to be like permanently deplatformed. And I feel like the chances are very much above non-zero that he might be banned on Twitch after this hearing. I don't know where you guys are at with that, but I mean, just imagine. I mean, there's certain things that we can predict for sure are going to happen, and they are for sure going to pick the most provocative clips they can find and then run a montage of those.
I think it comes down to if Jeff Bezos gets involved and feels like his business is being threatened by Hassan's behavior, I guess, on Twitch, which is owned by Amazon. Maybe then if we start seeing that. But I think you're right. They'll play some of his biggest clips, but this might actually be a chance for Hassan to do some good by being the fall guy, I guess, in a sense of like, hey man, like he's got a right to say this shit and we don't want the government to crack down on him, even if we disagree with him. I'm with you, Hutch. I want to see corrective behavior. I want to see corrected behavior by give people a second chance, third chance, don't ban, just get rid of him, but suspend him for a couple of weeks if he does something and give him a chance to correct his behavior. But
behavior, I want to correct. If it's coming from the government is the reason it's being
the behavior.
Yes.
I want to correct is the behavior of the despicable MAGA Republicans who are either supporting or outright endorsing, Trump or his actions here in terms of going after political dissidents. I'm not going to spend my time soying out about shit Hassan has said when in the middle of this huge push for authoritarianism, they're now starting to come down on other influencers. Sure. There's no way, no how. That's not going to be my focus.
Yeah. Like we had our, infighting. I confront Destiny about his comments, but like the the instant this becomes us versus the authoritarian MAGA regime, I will let those people step on my back and say the most heinous, egregious shit just so it's louder and gets across the room. Like I have no room in my heart for, well, you should be banned for this thing, even though I might agree that like 10 years ago, the Twitch rule would have said that this should happen. When the president of the United States is forming this anti-American, anti-free speech kind of movement and forcing companies using the leverage of, hey, like, I'm not going to give you your license. I'm not going to give you your deal. Like, I'm going to make YouTube settle this like lawsuit for taking me down. Absolutely. I don't give a fuck what they said. They should stay up there because anything they said is not anywhere as close as the danger of the government cracking down on us like that.
Yeah, sure. I agree. That's why it pains me that like I may have to come to Hassan's defense, but if Hassan can do some good by, he can handle the government coming after him, and so, if that's the good he can do by pushing back and being their whipping boy, shall we say, then so be it. Maybe some good will come out of it. I don't know.
He seems like he's leaning into it. Like he started his stream the other day by singing that Ciao Bello song that was referenced in the fucking bullet casing.
Now
I don't love that kind of provocativeness or whatever, but I got a little stun locked by some people in chat are saying that I'm like chomping at the bit for Hassan to be banned. That it could not be further from the truth. And I joined my compatriots here on the panel. Like if there was some kind of like selective action that was taken against him, I would absolutely speak up against that. It's a horrible precedent. And if it could happen to him, it could happen to anybody else that does this too. So yeah, everybody should be, I think, concerned about the level of censorship, quite frankly, that this administration is engaged in currently. I mean, obviously the biggest example recently was Kimmel, but they're not going to stop with him. They're going to put pressure on every corporation they can to silence people that are critical of him. And it's a pretty important moment, I think, in the country.
Yeah, it's easy to defend free speech you agree with, but it's harder to defend speech you disagree with. So goddamn Trump making me defend Hassan, man. But it is what it is.
Well, what's worse than that is making me say that Jimmy Kimmel should be put back on air. I mean, that's like one of the worst things I've ever said in my life, but it's true. Like, he should be canceled for being unfunny and terrible, but not because the government said to do it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit over the top sometimes when I know I do those Saint Jimmy memes on Twitter, and a lot of us are like leaning into the free Jimmy, that kind of stuff. And you're like, well, it's Jimmy, he's like whatever about him. And a similar thing with Hassan, but it's really fucking important. I don't want to just keep patting myself on the back for this take, and you guys might still disagree with me in the chat. But the reason why I did this whole global entry arc about Hassan having that revoked or whatever is because it's a direct line. Those kinds of privileges, the quote unquote privileges of global entry, as though it were acceptable to have viewpoint discrimination on government privileges. That's how they start. They start by going after people who are vulnerable, like Mahmoud Khalil, or who have a lot of powerful enemies, like Hassan Piker. And it's very quickly, it starts to get closer and closer to you and your friends and people who aren't, having whatever, this Houthi shit, whatever. And Will Chamberlain, this lawyer, this hack, this piece of shit that I debated on Tim Pool, this is someone who is an influencer, and a lot of people get their legal takes from this guy and other fuckers online. He's saying deport Mehdi Hassan, deport Hassan, and deport Zoran Mamdani, and denaturalize and deport. And this is all part of... And Hanomar, yeah, I saw that, all that shit. And this is they're trying to desensitize you, and you need to stand strong, even with people, especially as Ira said, people you disagree with, because that's when the First Amendment matters the most. First Amendment isn't just there to protect popular speech. If it was, we wouldn't need it. The popular speech defends itself. So yeah, it's really important, and I think that people need to keep their eye on the prize here.
They are massively overplaying their hand right now. And something that American voters have demonstrated pretty consistently, this might sound a little bit weird in the era of Trump, is that they largely reject this kind of extremism. I mean, he won in 2024, but there's a lot of other factors to consider for why he won. He didn't win because he was extreme. He won because people just wanted their paychecks to go further, I think, quite frankly, was the number one reason. But the steps that he's been taking with sending ICE, and we talked very briefly about, were we even live? Like when we were talking about that, the guy who got brought back or whatever, who was reinstated, or were we talking about before we went live?
Which guy?
The guy that shoved that woman down with no restraint?
We were live.
Okay, yep. Yeah. I mean, this kind of stuff, and then like him, the whole MAGA movement just completely just going full mask off fascism, quite frankly, especially after the Charlie Kirk stuff.
Yep.
Like this stuff does not play well, especially with like independents. They look at this
not
stuff
even just
largely and
independents,
disapprove.
Hutch. I know a lot of like MAGA people in California, and it's interesting when you speak to them and you tell them things like, "Oh, people are worried that Trump's going to come after them for their speech," and they're so incredulous to the idea of that. They're like, "There's no way he would do that." And part of that is that there's this plausible deniability that's been built in for the last 10 years, where every single crazy thing, "Oh, well, he's just doing this. Oh, he's just doing that. He didn't really mean that. Oh, he was joking." When they really go across that line and start doing the fashy shit, a lot of the Trump voters aren't actually okay with that. A lot of them are, but a fair amount of them have been playing defense because they really truly thought, hey, maybe this guy isn't the horrible, awful fascist that all the liberals are calling him. And once it's indefensibly in their face, they're not on board as much. Now, that doesn't mean they won't vote for him, because a good chunk of them still will, but there's still a fair amount of people that I've met that are not okay with it once it's that in your face.
It's seeping into the pod bros, like all the pod bros have been speaking up about like Epstein and the Jimmy Kimmel situation. I think we're at a time where, the internet, like, it is kind of real life, and so when you get like that many people, like when you get that big of a collective audience between like Flagrant and Theo Vaughn and Tim Dillon and Joe Rogan, and they're all kind of hitting at the Trump administration for these massive like oversteps, then, I think that does translate to, people talking about it with their coworkers, their family. And so I think, I don't know. I think it's easy to get blackpilled right now. It's easy to get really afraid about where this story is headed, but I just want to caution people to hold out like a little bit of hope for like the American people, because I do think that they are largely disgusted by this. And I think if the worst ever happened, I think it would provoke literally the largest civil rights protest movement in the history of mankind.
You in the chat, you got to keep screaming, man. You got to keep memeing, keep screaming, all legal, all peaceful, all that stuff. But just keep talking your shit all day, all night. Fight the meme war. We are in a meme war right now. We need you. We need you. We need all of your friends and family to just be in it with us. And if you're in it, I'm in it, and we can fucking win. That's the thing. Like, they're trying to make you demoralize. What's the effect of the James Comey prosecution? It probably will be thrown out at some point, or Comey will win at trial. That's probably what's going to happen. But the effect is to try to demoralize, disincentivize people from within the government to investigate Trump or to talk shit about Trump, and know that if you're like going after Trump, they're going to use the full force of the federal government to come after you. They're trying to scare you into compliance, and fear is their weapon, right? What do the Nazgul have? Do the Nazgul ever have these epic fights? No. It's fear is their weapon. That's how they're able to get people to scream and to go fucking crazy. And if you're not afraid, they'll have no power over you, and you'll win.
Not being a hopeless, miserable prick is an act of defiance in the current climate. So if you can find a way to like still be content and happy and do things that like give you joy and make you laugh, that's like one of the best things I think you can do. I'm not even playing. I know that sounds really cringe, but I think like they're doing this intentionally to scare the shit out of people and to like foment the climate of submission, and just don't do that.
It's all a distraction from failing to bring down grocery store prices and failing to bring down insurance premiums and making housing more affordable. So in the end, if they don't address those economic matters, they're going to get voted out. It doesn't matter what Trump does. But if he was improving people's lives and doing this stuff, then I'd be concerned about it. But to me, it's just a distraction. Most people are going to vote based on, am I better off today than I was 4 years ago? If no, I'm going to vote for the other party.
Let's talk
I want to add to your thing, Hutch, real quick before we move to the shutdown. It's not just tweeting and getting mad about this, because that people were doing a pretty good job of that in 2016, but there's like a very big distinction, and I know this is so dumb because this is like the minutia of how you complain about one of the more existential parts of threats to our country. But when you get angry, that's fine, but there's like some sort of soy energy, and I know that's ironic coming from me, but there's a soy way to get mad where you're kind of like pearl clutching. And the Republicans have really capitalized on this. Look how much we made the libs cry. And it's like, hey, you're crying about the crackdown on free speech. Oh, boo-hoo. There's a little flavor that you need to add to that, which is mockery. Mockery works so well against these people because they've built up this facade of this like infallible masculine man somehow for this like overweight, like bumbling moron. But if you don't mock these people, or if you do mock these people, you're able to break down that facade, and they're like, wait, this isn't my guy. He looks like a fucking idiot, because you're able to point that out to them. And so getting mad and posting is important, but I think adding also that like these are ridiculous people, and always pointing out how stupid and lame and feckless they are is very, very important. I can't stress that enough.
Let's get on to the shutdown.
Oh boy.
Let's do it.
I don't know much about it. I feel like
Wednesday.
IRI, I feel like maybe you're the most qualified.
And that's the first problem, Hutch. That's the first problem. The comms have been absolutely shocking. You are a plugged-in person. You are someone who's a Democratic. I'm not saying that you're paid by the Democrats, but you're an influencer who supports Democrats, who supports liberal causes. And what the fuck do you know about the position of the Democrats? In general, you think it's related to healthcare, probably. But like, in terms of what the fuck is going on, I think the messaging has been shit. I think that the Democrats have a strong position in the fact that like the Republicans control Congress and the presidency. So I think all in all, the Republicans will probably be blamed for this, but I don't think that we're taking advantage of it in the way that we should. And that's, I think, because of leadership. Sorry.
To be clear, the reason why I don't know a lot about the shutdown is because I've been playing Borderlands like 10 hours a day for the last week. So,
well,
okay,
our strongest
example.
liberal warriors are failing us.
IRI, talk to us about like what's going on this week. What are the stakes? What's the hubbub? What's the scuttlebutt out on the streets right now?
In your defense, Hutch, nobody gives a shit about the shutdown until it happens, right? That's how it works. So all the buildup, it's not really much. But you know, to address Pisco's point, what's the Democratic messaging? I think the Democrats have actually done a brilliant job here. And just roll with me, Pisco, and see what you think.
Yeah.
The timing is brilliant because letters are starting to go out, letting people know how much their insurance premiums are going up next year. In the next couple of days, they've already started to go out. And what's the Democrats' number one demand from the Republicans for the continuing resolution?
ACA subsidies.
To extend the ACA subsidies that affect 22 million people. I mean, 22 out of 24 million people on the ACA are taking advantage of these subsidies. Some people get it for free. Some people get a small discount, but a bunch of people get it. People are going to see their insurance premiums go up upwards of 75% for some people. So for me, the timing is actually brilliant because as these letters go out, as people get emails from their health insurance companies, they're going to hear the Democrats are fighting to bring down their health insurance costs. So I think it's really smart.
I don't think that the policy position is bad. I know that Nate Silver penned an op-ed about it should be tariffs. I'm kind of as between tariffs and healthcare. I think both are fine topics. So I don't have a problem with the Democrats taking a stand on something tangible like this. Like we said before, and I think it's correct, the tangibles of like going against government corruption or going against the excesses of the executive generally, or like stopping the deployments of the National Guard. That's stuff it's too intangible for the American to feel. And it's hard to see Trump caving on that stuff, but money, dollar and cents, that seems like it's more of a point where Democrats can score some wins. I don't have a problem with that strat and the timing of it. My problem is, again, the messaging. It's just who the leaders are of this movement. And to me, like, I'm someone who's looking for the Democrats always, and like what Hakeem is saying and what Schumer is saying. And it's I'm sorry, like Newsom has been more vocal than these congressional Democrats. Where are they? Where are like the smart memes, the funny memes?
This ties back to your hybrid theory. You believe in like a new kind of hybrid politician that not only is effective at, like whipping his like caucus or their caucus into line, but they're also like super savvy on social media. I just don't have the same.
You're talking, Pisco, about a governor. You're talking about people that are not accountable to anybody. They're the executive, But Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries, they have a whole caucus, right? We've talked about this before. They have moderates, they have liberals, and their leadership happens behind the scenes, and they're not the most public-facing people. So I think as the shutdown happens, these next 24 hours, they're going to get a lot of attention. And by the way, this is the first time Hakeem Jeffries has met with Donald Trump, and there could be some dynamics there that we haven't seen play out yet.
Is it going to be televised, their meeting?
They already had a meeting. They came out front of the White House today and talked. And by the way, Donald Trump canceled their meeting last Thursday. They were supposed to have a meeting, Chuck Schumer, Jeffries, and Trump. He canceled it, said, what's the effing point? There's no reason to talk to them. Over the weekend, he capitulates, and they had a meeting today. So he's already taking an L.
Well, can we put some points on the board for like caution though? Like, can you guys explain, like, how could Trump possibly manipulate a government shutdown to do really bad shit? Because I keep hearing about this.
Well, this was like the initial government shutdown. The reason Schumer didn't want to do it, it was he said that they would use this to seize more power. And I wasn't really, sure I understood what he was claiming, but like that they would erode certain industries, they'd fire. So, I mean, they've threatened to fire employees this time, right? The people that are furlough a bunch of government workers. I don't super understand how this is different that time. No one's really communicated that to me. Can someone?
Anyone? No. It's not different at all. Only this time, I suppose, the Supreme Court is giving him more and more wins in some of these outrageous like shadow docket opinions where they're not even giving the reasoning and they're kind of just letting Trump win on the status quo or on some standing or procedural bullshit or something. So like I understand that that aspect of it might change if the courts are giving less and less wins, or really just one court, the Supreme Court. All the other intermediate appellate courts and the trial courts, they're doing a great job, but the Supreme Court's really just fucking up in terms of upholding the rule of law. Maybe that's different, but in terms of the dynamics in like the worst of all possible worlds, military coup scenarios, all that shit, it's the same exact stuff. It's the same exact shit. What I'm concerned about though are some of the reports that Schumer has lost the confidence of his caucus. I'm seeing that reported. I'm seeing reports that they might do a temporary stopgap bill, and Schumer might. I'm seeing a report of it.
Schumer said no.
There was reporting that
7-10 day bill. No.
Well, that contradicts reporting that I saw a headline for today, was it Axios, which said that Schumer was going around and asking Democrats if they'd be comfortable. Yeah, I don't know if you know more about that than I do, but
well, I think he had a press conference with Hakeem Jeffries like 2 hours ago. I think he said no to a question about it there, but I think Schumer has to fight. He's got to demand, and he can't back down. So I just don't see a world in which he does.
What do you guys think? Go ahead. Well, I was going to say, what do you guys think of Destiny's floated the demand of having Donald Trump condemn like all political violence and not just left-wing political violence? I don't know. I kind of think that's interesting. Like he might be
thought that would actually do something, but I just saw he was on a segment on the news today, and I didn't want to bring this up, but you made it organically. And essentially he kind of talked about like what my strategy is. And he's like, look, if every single time this happens, something happens and the left wing has to cuck out to the right wing. They have to say, oh, like, we disavow all political violence. Oh, like we don't support this guy who did something against the right. And this is then taken by the right wing as, look, they're guilty because they're admitting fault. And I just don't see how that somehow reconciles with the idea that, well, if I won't disavow political violence, if I go on TV and say the worst possible thing that can get clipped and amplified, this is not going to be taken by the people that are going to take and say that this is guilt. How that at all is going to drive more people to the cause of, oh, actually, yeah, the president should be the one disavowing violence. I think it's completely ridiculous. But obviously, yeah, if we could somehow like use the shutdown, which is going to affect everyone, and say, hey, we'll give you the money if you fucking disavow terrorism, which you have not done. You've not turned out the temperature. I think that's a good idea.
The guy in Michigan who shut up that Mormon church and burned it to the fucking ground. He was a Mormon who was posting like Charlie Kirk stuff on his social media. So it seems like
he had a Trump sign, but it said there was a stop sign under the Trump sign, so that might be interpreted as Trump stop, which if you reverse in your head is stop Trump, which means he's anti-MAGA, maybe.
Gotcha. Trump stop.
Dude, Schumer has to get something tangible, and it's got to be some extension of the ACA subsidies or some reversal of the big, beautiful bill Medicaid cuts. It's got to be. Has to. And they're going to. There's no bullshit like some commitment from Trump to make a statement. No way.
I don't know what the representation is if that's Steven's ask or whatever. I respect where Steven is coming from with respect to like the both sides not having to do it in order to get to the karma heaven or whatever. So I totally understand that angle of it. I just don't think it's appropriate for this negotiation, and it's something that Trump would go back on. And I just can't imagine him being like, yes, I'll condemn in exchange for money, and here's my condemnation.
I don't think the point would be to necessarily like, because everybody knows he would never do that. But you could possibly like generate some headlines there.
It's just to highlight how much he's not doing it, because right now everyone's like, well, it's how can we hyper focus on crazy other things that have nothing to do with the president of the United States. And this is hey, your life sucks right now because the president won't turn the temperature down. Not, hey, we actually think the president's going to change his mind because of that.
But your life doesn't suck as much compared to your health insurance premium going up $50-$60 next year. You know what I mean? Like that is going to impact everybody who has health insurance, which is way more people than people impacted by political violence, in my opinion. Maybe you guys feel differently, but
no, I totally agree. Like maybe to the extent that it's important, I anecdotally, it seems like political violence is going up, and it seems like there have been like multiple days of like shootings and shit. And so if I was just like testing the air, like my intuition is that it's going up. But even then, it's like this is not affecting most people. This is a fraction of something.
Here's the messaging, and the Democrats have started to say it. Hakeem is saying it. Schumer's saying it. This is Trump's shutdown. Trump is the president. They control the House. They control the Senate. Your average American does not understand that you need 7 votes from the Democrats in the Senate because you need 60 votes to get a bill across the finish line, and there's only 53 Republicans. All people know is Trump's the president, and there's a shutdown. And there was no shutdown when Biden was president. That's what I think the message is going to be as we move forward. That's what the media is going to say too.
I'm mad at I don't know if this we might be veering into a different category here, topic here, but I'm more upset about Jeffrey's statement regarding Adams. Eric Adams.
Yeah,
and here I'm willing to join you actually after many weeks of debating this. Now that Adams has actually dropped out of the race, now I think it is actually kind of valid to ask for an endorsement from Jeffries.
No doubt. Like no one's asking Jeffries like. If it were the case that Jeffrey's like, I don't get into fucking mayoral politics or whatever, or he took some kind of principle, I think it would be bullshit, but whatever. But when Mayor Adams, an indicted mayor who was taking bribes from the Turks and who did a corrupt deal with Donald Trump in exchange for greater ICE enforcement, understand what, like, everyone, we're fighting ICE, right? In the metaphoric sense, in the political sense, and, condemn all violence. But, like, we're fighting ICE. ICE is, like, the enemy of the American people, in my opinion. And that is not okay. Like, we're allowing and we're saying that it's, he has a good, like, you don't even mention the fact that he cooked up this deal, the fact that he's a corrupt mayor in your statement. You're like, oh, yeah, he did a pretty good job. That is disgraceful. That is disqualifying in the era of Trump. To not call out, and he was weak on him before too, because he didn't call on him to resign when it was clear he was corrupt, when it was clear he was cooking up a deal with Tom Homan, who was also taking bribes, $50,000 in bills before the 2024 election in exchange for the promise of contracts after the election related to the border wall, and bills in a fucking kava bag or whatever, in a food bag. So spare me on this shit. That is weakness of the highest order, and it shows me that Jeffries isn't made for this moment. In addition to all of his cringeness, the dude is just cringe. Listen to him talk for like 10 minutes. To me, it's cringe all the way down, and Schumer is past his time. It's time for new leadership at the Senate level, at the House level. That's my take on it. It's been my take for a while, and this recent Mayor Adams statement only further cements it.
I'm going to be the last man standing defending Jeffries not endorsing Mamdani. I don't give a shit because he's got to control a caucus full of moderates. Control of the House goes through people like Marie, Glusum Camp, whatever, Perez. Like he's got to walk a fine line here. I saw the statement too, and I was a little taken aback by it. But, I don't think it matters. Again, I don't think it matters.
I want to push back because I feel like there's a political calculation here. Because I think that if Cuomo were to beat Mamdani, number one, I feel like that would greatly exacerbate the divisions that we're currently seeing within the party. And number two, it would make the entire party, I think, look really bad.
There's no good outcome here, Ira, in my opinion, because let's say that Jeffries comes out and endorses Mamdani. Well, you were late. Why'd you take this long? Right? What if he comes out and endorses Cuomo?
I think it's good if he waits.
We'll just let me get it all out. What if he endorses Cuomo and Cuomo loses? Now he looks like a fucking jerk and everyone memes on him. No one takes him seriously. What if he endorses Cuomo and Cuomo wins?
Well, he's not going to endorse Cuomo. He's not going to do that.
You say that, but what if he doesn't take? What if he doesn't weigh in at all and he doesn't endorse anybody? Now he looks fucking weak. There's no good option here, in my opinion. And I think he's fucked himself over by not endorsing the.
If he endorsed Mamdani now, I don't think that would be like. I don't think people would look poorly on that.
No, I think it's the least bad option. But like, it seems so politically calculated, and so when it was obvious from the start that this is the guy you should have backed after the primary, and that's my opinion on it.
Mamdani wants the endorsement, right? So like, and Jeffries technically has that leverage, but you could argue that Mamdani has the leverage now too, because they're like Hochul endorsed him already, and so it feels like he's got a little bit of wind at his back. But like, I don't know.
Hochul,
yeah, go ahead.
Hochul's New York State. You know what I mean? Like, this is New York State politics, so she's got to work with the mayor. Again, I look at Hakeem Jeffries as he's national. He's got to, keep his caucus together. He can't represent one side more than the other. And control of the House goes through those moderate districts like MGP and Jared Golden. So I think best case scenario, he doesn't endorse him at all. He doesn't need his endorsement to win, and he stays neutral, and then he's not associated with him. I mean, let me challenge you, Pisco. What does Hakeem Jeffries get out of endorsing Mamdani?
I think that he's endorsing
to do his
a
job,
broad
his job.
I think that he is possibly, ingratiating the members of the left who really are enamored by Mamdani. He's pushing party unity at a time when we need, emphatic leaders who are charismatic. So I think that it gives him, I think, at least some bona fides with the left, to some extent at least. So yeah, I think that it can make his job easier. And what could it hurt? Like, all he's doing is endorsing the Democratic nominee as the leader of the Democrats in the House of Representatives. I would expect him to endorse Tom Suozzi. I would expect him to endorse Jared Golden. And so what's the problem with the Democratic leader endorsing the Democratic candidate? To me, it's a no-brainer. What's the harm?
Well, usually, as far as I know, they're only endorsing his incumbents in the House. Anything else he's not really involved in. So he's only going to fight for incumbents in the House, and that's it. Like, nothing else. He's not involved in anything else.
And this is a principled position, you think? That
this is the standard.
It's not principled.
This is the standard.
It's about getting what's going to make his job easier. He's a national figure for the Democrats. Does he want to be associated with Mamdani on the national stage? I'm just saying, does that help him do his job? I'm not sure it does.
Well, then what is this flirtation of I'm going to talk with Mamdani? Yeah, go for it.
Pisco, I guess the ultimate question is, because I'm still on the fence about this. Obviously, I think he should endorse, but like whether or not, I don't know. I can't see the future. Does endorsing Mamdani kind of dissuade? Does it dissipate this illusion, or not illusion, but like a very big perception that Democrats are feckless and not listening to their base? Because obviously there is a much larger base than what you would see on the internet, but there is a huge amount of people, the same people that are enthusiastically going out and canvassing for Mamdani, who are doing all this volunteering. The reason he was able to get off without all this big, corporate energy, and saying, hey, can we help get those people into the coalition? Or are those people going to be seeing the Democrats as, they're always against us, they're not even on our team? I would say probably that would be good, but is that better than what IRI is suggesting, that maybe in doing so, you alienate a lot of the people that you might not see, who are like, hey, I'm not really sure about the, this
then you
guy
just
who's
make
a little too far left from me.
Do you think Kathy Hochul? I understand that he's I guess a national figure or whatever, in a way that maybe Kathy Hochul is more of a statewide figure or what have you. But like, if he stays on the fence, what's the good outcome? If you're not fucking around with Tom Suozzi, Tom Suozzi is going to do what he's going to do no matter what, right? Tom Suozzi isn't waiting for Hakeem to run, right? Like, and Tom Suozzi.
What did Tom Suozzi do?
No. What I'm saying is, if you're fearful of the Tom Suozzis of the world, if you're fearful for the Jared Goldens of the world, they'll define themselves. They'll disassociate themselves. Everyone, in this day and age, candidates are free to define themselves however they want, and so it's really not a big risk.
But they'll get in trouble.
Who's going to
get in trouble if the leader of the Democrats is associated with Mamdani when they're trying to represent the Democrats in their district, and it's like, yeah, but your leader is Mamdani's best friend over here.
So, I mean, would that apply to AOC? I mean, you're just going to say it's because she's an incumbent. But at the time in which she was making waves in 2018, should they have endorsed AOC when she won the nomination? Of course they should have, because that was a Democratic candidate. Of course you should have endorsed AOC at that time. But
that's the House. That's different.
But why is it different? Like, why is it different to endorse someone who
national politics?
National
politics versus city politics? Why is it different?
Holy fuck! I'm not comparing the offices themselves. The nature of the contest. It's not about the nature of the office itself. It's about how visible it is. And the Democratic candidate for mayor, this is like world news, and everyone's talking about it. And he's going to be asked every day about it, and he's going to be dogged for it. And he's going to look weak. If he just says, I don't know, I'm having these conversations.
Here's my issue, and I already told you I think my calculation changed a little bit with Adams dropping out. I think there's just like political reasons for Jeffries doing it. My problem here, Pisco, quite frankly, is that I think a lot of Mamdani's most vocal supporters online and alternative media have intentionally made this a divisive issue when it didn't need to be. First of all, this standard never existed before. like national Democrats were never expected to endorse mayoral candidates, even for the biggest city, most populous city in the entire country. They invented this standard and then started making these demands. They're not looking for unity. They're looking for, the establishment wing or the moderate wing to bend the knee to the new kind of handsome, popular, progressive candidate. They intentionally made this a divisive issue. They picked a fight over this. Don't
I
you see
totally
that?
disagree. No, I don't agree whatsoever. I think that regardless of how entrenched the standard is for other politicians to weigh in on a New York mayoral, it's happened before. Booker endorsed a previous mayoral election. It's not unheard of for federal candidates to endorse state or city. What would it take to be the standard, Hutch? What would it take to be
Do you think AOC should have been forced to endorse Eric Adams in 2021?
What do you mean by forced? Yeah, I think
you
she should have endorsed.
Yeah, you want the standard.
Hang on.
Come on, you don't actually believe that.
No. I think that AOC should have endorsed Mayor Adams when he was running against the Republican. Yes, I do. What do you mean I don't? Why are you telling me I don't believe that? I thought all these lefties. Wait, no, it is not.
Why should she be forced to throw her
what do you
name
mean
and
be forced
reputation?
to? So when you say Hutch, when you say be forced, what do you mean by that?
You're saying
you mean like I force her physically? What do you mean by that?
No. You're saying that
why should she?
Hold on, I'm answering your question.
Yeah.
You're saying this should be the standard. Therefore, she would be forced to act in accordance with a standard, correct?
I think that Democratic officials from New York, whether they're federal representatives or not, should endorse the Democratic candidate for mayor. I do think that is a standard that should happen. I am saying that. And your response is there's not been like universal uptake of that standard in the past.
Well,
that doesn't mean that it's wrong.
Well, you understand the consequences of this, right? Because if you're going to apply that standard in New York, you got to apply that standard in all 50 states. And now you're saying that more progressive House representatives should be forced to endorse like conservative mayoral candidates in whatever race in California or whatever.
We are talking about the New York leader of the Democrats, that is Hakeem Jeffries, who is a representative of the state of New York. He's one of the reps for New York. And we're talking about Chuck Schumer, the leader of the Democrats, who is the senator from the great state of New York. We're talking about New York-based politicians. And not only them, they're leaders of their respective congressional branches. So they are national leaders.
Why does the standard only apply to New York? Why would it not be applied in every state?
New York is the center of the world. New York, give me a fucking break, Hutch. Okay, so this is what Hutch is saying. This is what Hutch thinks I'm saying. Hutch thinks that the standard that I'm imposing is I want the Hakeem Jeffries to come on every single first selectman race in the entire fucking country. Do you think I'm that fucking stupid that I'm calling for the leader of the so then why are you saying then it has to be the same for every state that Hakeem Jeffries has to comment on every mayoral? Is that what you're suggesting?
In California, for example, you're saying that California representatives should weigh in on mayoral contests in California.
Largely coalesce,
and Wyoming on the Democrats should weigh in on Wyoming mayoral races. Why would it only apply to New York?
So I think that there is a New York exceptionalism in general. I think that New York, this mayoral race is national news across the country. Yes or no, Hutch?
Wait. Let me build a bridge. Let me build a bridge. Peace go. Wait. Let me moderate.
Shut the fuck up. Hutch. Is the New York mayoral race national news in a way that these other contests are not?
Yeah.
Yes, of course. Number two, I would apply a standard to, for example, the LA mayor race. If you have some shitback independent who lost the fucking primary, and you have Californian people who's a centrist, corrupt person who is in the pocket and is fucking supporting and being the lawyer for Bibi Netanyahu at a time when that's not where the base is at, if that happened in LA, yes, I would expect the California delegation to support the Democratic candidate. I don't think that's an absurd standard.
No, now you're appealing to extraordinary circumstances when a moment ago you were saying it's because they're New York Democrats, they should weigh in on this mayor's race.
No. I'm addressing you directly.
I don't understand how this standard wouldn't be applied across the board all over the country.
I'm addressing you directly.
Have a standard. Let me finish my thought. You shouldn't have a standard that would force candidates to risk their own reputation, to be forced to endorse someone that they don't align with. That would apply to AOC retroactively to Eric Adams in 2021. And as much as you say right now, yes,
Would
I
it
think she
apply to
should have
Kamala
done
Harris?
that. I don't think that you actually
Would it
mean
apply?
that.
So I don't want to hear any shit from you. Therefore, when Democrats in the future choose not, or left-wing people choose not to endorse the Democratic candidate for president, and the
Mamdani
reason
didn't,
is,
bro.
And
This is the height
wait,
of irony.
whoa. So you say it's the height of irony. Should we condemn Mamdani for not endorsing Kamala Harris? Of course, correct? Yes or no? Yes or no?
No, I don't think.
Oh,
no,
so we don't
that's
condemn.
not my
So you
standard.
don't have
That's
any
your
smoke. So you don't have any
standard,
smoke.
bro.
So I want to hear you. You don't have any smoke for Hassan for not directly endorsing Kamala Harris. That's right.
Hassan Piker, he has
Yes,
way more notoriety.
you just said.
Than someone
You
like
just
a
said.
New
You
York
just said you
Assembly
don't.
member,
Hutch.
Mamdani.
Hutch. You just said you don't condemn Mamdani for not endorsing Kamala Harris.
Why
I do
are we-
condemn
hold on.
Mamdani.
Why-
Wait, hang on. Let's get very
Why
clear.
Are we comparing a presidential race to
Let's
a
just be very clear,
mayoral race?
Hutch. Let's be very clear.
Do you think
just
there
said
should be a different
we're
standard?
gonna have clarity, Hutch.
Hold on,
Hutch,
do you
we're gonna
think
have
there
clarity.
should- hold
Don't
on,
worry, we'll get to
hold on.
everything. Oh
Do you
my
think
God,
there should be a different standard for mayoral race and a presidential race?
It depends.
You don't think there's more
but I'm asking
pressure
you.
or-
I'm asking you. No, it's obviously different. Different contest. But in terms of who to nominate, I asked you a question. Do you condemn Mamdani for not endorsing Kamala Harris? Yes or no?
I don't care. He was a New York State Assembly
Sir,
member.
are you saying?
Who gives
Are
a
you saying
fuck?
you're? Wait. Are you saying you're indifferent? Yes or no?
I'm
What do you say?
indifferent. Yes, I'm
So
indifferent.
are you indifferent to Hassan not endorsing Kamala Harris?
No, because it's different. That guy has so much
Okay,
more,
so-
he has
so you're-
way more influence
So this
than
is crazy.
a New York City Assembly member.
So now the level of influence matters, right?
Yes.
So now you're okay. So
Of course
you're
it matters.
basically suggesting that influence and how notable the race is affecting your calculus about whether or not you think an endorsement should or should not obtain, correct?
Presidential race.
This
It's
is
not
so
the same
silly, dude.
thing.
So we were on the same page like weeks ago that it was the right thing to endorse Mamdani. Now you've reversed your position. I don't know what your position is now.
No. I'm just pushing back against the constant rhetoric that I'm hearing from Mamdani's most vocal supporters. To be clear, they picked a fight over this issue. They purposefully made it divisive. It's obvious that that's
the
what they did.
standard is consistent. The standard is you endorse a Democrat unless there are exceptional circumstances like some fucking he's a child rapist.
In a presidential race.
No.
In a presidential race.
It's you who's provided that proviso. It's you who's saying it's only exceptional to the president. I think that it should be more broad than that.
No,
I
you
think
have to
Democrats should
localize
support
it. So,
Democrats.
like, you have to localize it. So like New York
Yes.
State Dems or New York City Dems, like at the state level of government. That's the pressure is more on them to get behind like candidates like that. You're talking about national Democrats who have their own constituents and their own reputations to consider, and you're saying that they should be forced to, by some standard,
hey,
risk
do
their own
you remember this
reputation.
argument, Hutch? Do you remember this argument? The argument was the lesser of two evils. Why would you endorse the lesser of two evils? Maybe because it's less evil. So if you have a principled position against Mamdani because you think his fucking policies are shit, you can just say that. You can say, listen, I don't agree with Mamdani, but I'm not going to support a Republican. Guess what? All the fucking Republicans do that. All the Republican elected officials do that. Do you think any of them fucking sit on the fence like this? They don't do that. They support their own candidate.
No.
But we can't bring ourselves to do that. And it's fucking insane. And it was wrong when Mamdani did it. And it's wrong with... No, come on.
How many how many congressional Republicans have endorsed Sliwa in this race?
I don't wait. I
You
don't
just said it
fucking
was a
know.
standard. You just said Republicans do this.
Lawler has
told him to
endorsed
drop it.
Lawler endorsed Sliwa.
Okay.
Endorsed Sliwa. And
You're saying that
and
it's
you
standard,
understand
so where are the rest of the
the field.
endorsements?
You understand the field is fractured for the conservatives in this race. It's fractured in a way that it shouldn't be for the Democratic Party because it's New York fucking city.
This is not true. That Republicans constantly weigh in on mayoral races. This is not true.
So Republicans fall in line for each other. And if it were a clear...
No, they don't do the standard that you're talking about.
Oh my God.
You're making it up. There is no standard that congressional Republicans endorse mayoral candidates. This is not a thing, Pisco.
So you're narrow. You're making it so narrow that you think what I'm suggesting is that there's a uniform standard for Republicans even to weigh in on other mayoral elections across the country. And so you're saying there's no standard because I haven't heard Republicans weigh in on mayoral elections.
It's not
of course,
a standard.
So this is is New York City. So in general, the Republicans coalesce behind their candidate. And I think that's what should happen with Democrats in any kind of major, notable race. The Democrats should back the Democratic candidate. It's you. You want to make a different standard and say, well, sometimes no. So, definitely when it's the president, but not if, hang on, no. Definitely when it's the president, but not if you're a mayoral, candidate in the future. So I'm not going to, and look at your standard, right? Like, I'm going to say that you should endorse Kamala Harris unless you're like a New York assemblyman, then you have no requirement to endorse.
Your assemblyman,
it's absurd. It's fucking absurd. Of course, there should be a uniform standard to support the Democratic nominee.
All right, we got to put it. Okay, so this is a question that maybe this will build a bridge. Maybe this will start another fight. I'm just curious, Hutch, if there was some mayoral race in Wyoming that was as big as the Mamdani thing, that was making national headlines, do you think it would be at least reasonable to expect heads of Democratic congressional caucuses not to necessarily say, I full-throatedly endorse Mamdani, but to say, hey, I support the Democratic candidate in this race against a Republican?
You would have to make the situation analogous. So like in this race, why are you laughing? You would have to make the situation analogous.
When it's convenient for you, you do this.
Let him finish.
Let me finish my point.
You asked me a question. Was that a rhetorical question? Or you
weren't asking me? Yes, I want to finish my point.
Make that clear next time.
In this hypothetical, if it is sort of like an insurgent candidate that came up really big with the grassroots campaign and he was like a fucking socialist and he was like a clear favorite to win the race, then no, I don't think that I would want that pressure there.
You're making a Mamdani exclusive rule. You're special pleading for Mamdani's case. You're saying it would have to be like listen to me. So this is the special pleading. This is the special pleading.
Is it a close race?
This is the special pleading.
Calculation, right?
This is the special pleading. What Hutch is just saying in response to Soy Pill, I think, is a very on all fours example, hypothetical, where it's a race in Wyoming and where it's national news. He says it would have to be just like the Mamdani race, and then I would apply the Mamdani specific standard, which is just for Mamdani. Your special pleading, not me. I'm the one who's consistent. Endorse the Democrat. That's my consistency.
Do you not understand the logic of if the race is not very close, and in this hypothetical Democrat in Wyoming was 10 or 20 points up, was the clear favorite? Should we put some standard on what's most likely a conservative Democrat serving in Wyoming to lend their reputation to a candidate that maybe they're totally ideologically different from? I don't understand how that makes any sense.
So the endorsement now is turning also on the closeness of the race, and so there's some special formula you're calculating. So everyone should just go to Hutch.
That's why my calculation changed earlier in the podcast.
We'll plug into your computer. So when it comes to the endorsement question, because it's relying on all these multiplicity of factors, including does it have the Mamdani specific factors that we should consider, the ideology specific factor, the jurisdictional specific factor, and then your intuitions about who's going to win or not. Then we'll ask Hutch about who should be endorsed, or we could just go with a universal moral rule, which is in general the Democratic leaders should support the Democratic candidates. That seems a lot easier.
To be clear, I guess the calculation is, and the reason Mamdani specific matters is, would it hurt people in other districts who would otherwise support Hakeem Jeffries or want to support the Democrats by endorsing someone that they wouldn't like them endorsing, like Mamdani, more than it would help Mamdani win this race? And if that's the case, then it would make sense not to endorse. I don't know if that's the case, but clearly, do you not see that that's a possibility that
I recognize, look at how reasonable I am. I recognize that's possible for some ultra conservative members, right? Some very conservative Democrats who are in tough things. Am I going out here? I might grumble. Am I saying Jared Golden is a dick for not endorsing Mamdani? No, I'm out here saying the leaders of the Democratic Party in safe states, right? In New York State, safe state for fucking Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries, who has to appeal to the conservatives and the left wing. Guess what? It goes both ways. Yes, of course, Hakeem has responsibilities to members of his caucus who are more conservative. He also has a responsibility to members of his caucus who are left wing. The problem is, my intuition is, a lot of Democrats think it only goes one way. It only goes to the right, and it doesn't go to the left. And I think it's bullshit. I was calling out each and every person who didn't endorse Kamala Harris because I actually believed in harm reduction. But the notion that we could have, a Republican or Cuomo, or before yesterday, Adams as mayor, when we have a much better alternative, that sends fucking shivers down my spine, and it's wasting talent in Mamdani. And I don't see why we can't just apply a simple rule, which is in these kind of big races when all the attention is focus by the media. We endorse a Democratic candidate. And if you want to make it a weaker statement and say, I don't support all his policies, or we have many disagreements, that's what the Republicans do when they have their controversial candidates. But they step up and they endorse.
I don't see any reason to endorse him. Like, first of all, the goalposts are just going to get moved. Like you said, Pisco, that you should have endorsed him earlier. You didn't endorse him hard enough. So it doesn't make any difference. To me, I could steelman your argument in that Hakeem Jeffries' district is in New York City. So he shares constituents with Mamdani. So it makes sense to endorse. Fine. But he's not just an average congressman. He's the leader of the Democrats nationwide in the House of Representatives with a 3-seat majority, and control of the House goes through those Jared Golden districts. So he has to make the calculation. Does it matter if I endorse Mamdani? Is it going to make a difference in his race? No. Does it help make my job easier or harder? And I feel he's made the calculation. It makes my job harder to win control of the House of Representatives for the Democrats next year if I cozy up to Mamdani. That's what it comes down to. And
the results for this kind of spineless, like looking at, I'm not saying you're spineless. I'm saying I think the leaders are spineless in that they're always looking at these opinion polls and over complicating these things. And we smell it. The Democratic approval ratings are at all-time lows. It's because of this kind of bullshit where we're always looking at consensus polls. We're always looking to try to manufacture the perfect answer instead of just going with our gut and doing what's fucking right. Sometimes, of course, think with your head. But in this context, what's the harm? How is Jared Golden going to be harmed because we fucking, nominated the Democratic nominee in New York City?
Have you seen Mamdani's statewide polls or his nationwide polls, by the way?
I'll tell you how he's going to be harmed.
They're not good. They're not good.
I'll tell you
Just a spoiler alert.
He doesn't have,
Jared Golden is part of the Democratic caucus, and the leader of the Democrats is Hakeem Jeffries. So anything Hakeem Jeffries does is going to rub off on Jared Golden's and his chances.
Well, then we're fucked because the brand is shit. The brand is dog shit right now, and it's not all about lack winning. Of trying.
It doesn't matter.
If it's all
about
winning,
brand.
We should support the Democratic candidate. If it's all about winning, that's what we should do.
It's about controlling the House of Representatives next year. How do you get it? How do you win it? And I think the strategy obviously goes through these moderate districts, and so does Hakeem.
If I was convinced that this would significantly affect the chances of the Democratic House, this non-endorsement, I would be like, fine. I'm not convinced by that. I don't think there's a good case for it. And I think it makes you look weak in front of your base, and the base hates the leadership. And it's because of decisions like this. And it's because of spineless decisions like in the past when we didn't use our leverage in the other negotiation. It's this kind of running scared instead of being a leader, running scared and being like sort of pushed around by your fears. This is the kind of shit that turns off the base. And the base is so disanimated by this kind of fecklessness.
Well,
in my opinion. I love you guys. I love Hutch. Hutch is my boy. Hutch is my boy. Listen, I get heated because I've been so pissed at leadership and it's taken so long, and they're gonna have to keep fielding this question. And you look weak as fuck when you don't answer it.
I don't understand. Like I feel you keep calling it weakness and spinelessness, and to me it's just a political calculation. It's not about fear or anything like that. Yeah. And you talk about the base being upset. Do you really think that Mamdani represents the base of the Democratic Party?
I'm not. No, Mamdani represents a growing movement on the left of disaffectedness with the Democrats not pushing back, not fighting back, and finally someone coming out and doing a little more populist thing. And that's why he has this national support and energy. And by saying, I will not endorse, Pisco is saying, well, you're kind of saying, well, if you want change, this is just like the David Hogg thing. If you're trying to come in and primary people and be progressive, we don't want that. And it kind of builds into this like establishment, like hard rock that's not going to move thing. So I understand that at the very least, I think it's silly that he wouldn't just say, hey, I don't agree with everything this guy does, but it's great that we have this guy and this energy. And I think it's great that people are voting for him, and I support this movement and I support him over the Republicans. But he won't even say that. It does come off as a little bit like, come on, give us something, even if it's not going to be like the deep.
And then the Mayor Adams statement, Hutch. And then the Mayor Adams statement.
Well, that I already told you I didn't.
I know, but like it's all part of the. I weigh that in because I see that he didn't call on him to resign at a time when he's literally cooperating with Tom Homan and Trump, and it's all part of the same shit. Like, whose side are you on, Hakeem?
I just feel like you guys are not really reckoning with the point that IRI has made, I think, like 4 times now, which is like the House Speaker has a totally different set of considerations to ponder when considering something like that. Like a political endorsement is a big fucking deal. Like an official, formal political endorsement, you are lending your name and your credibility to a candidate. And so it's not some small gesture. And I don't like Mamdani. You know, I looked at his platform. I liked like 90% of his platform. Didn't like 10% of it. I thought he ran a brilliant campaign, and I would be happy to vote for him if I lived in New York City. But there are going to be representatives that serve in districts that are a little freaked out at the idea of endorsing a guy who said that the end goal is to seize the means of production. You know what I mean? Like, he's just like not even a democratic socialist. He's like a socialist, right? Like, that's going to freak a lot of people out. And I think you're underestimating that kind of endorsement backfiring. I think you're underestimating the risk of that happening.
Oof.
Like we saw it in 2020. Like the 2020 was like a really important cycle because we won a trifecta, but we lost seats in the House. And one of the reasons why we lost seats in the House is that there was a perception about Democrats that we like wanted to like, you know, get rid of police and become like super radical in that way. And it cost us House seats.
I can understand where Pisco's coming from. He feels like the Democrats are missing out on the energy and the excitement and
Totally.
why people like Mamdani. I get it. And but I really question Mamdani's national appeal as well. I haven't really seen any evidence to back up that. I understand he's on national TV and people do like him around the country, but is he really resonating with Democrats around the country? I'm not so sure. Have you seen evidence?
Whoever answers polls is the opposite IRIs. He's not as popular national as he is in New York. So,
well, there's a lot of like undecideds with him. He's unknown, and so there's a lot of room to grow. Like AOC was in a similar position, and now I think she's positive nationally. But at the moment, he's down. He's like -15 nationally. You know, so he's not a particularly popular person yet.
Yeah, I'm not saying that he's a known commodity national. I'm saying the race has national attention in a way that like a normal mayoral race doesn't. And
sure.
I do think that there's an exceptionalism to these major cities. Major cities, by the way, are on the front of the war against Trump. Who's Trump, you know, claiming that he wants to go into these various cities for? He's doing it in Chicago and New York City. These places, these major metropolitans, you know, Gotham City. This shit matters. Also, I happen to live here, and so yeah, like the notion that we would have. I think Cuomo was like fielding calls from Trump. He's much more likely to be aligned with Trump. And in that context, it's not even like a close call for me. And I think that you could craft a statement such as Soypil gave as an example that would fairly insulate you from any accusation that you're a fucking socialist. I'm not a socialist. I've never been a socialist. I just defended my boy Econo Boy when he came out, you know, but like I'm not a socialist. I just think that what's good for the goose is good for the gander. I don't think really at the standard for the presidential race, if you're going to say that Mamdani shouldn't have to endorse Kamala Harris, even though he's an assemblyman in New York, I think he should. I think Hassan should have. And I think we when we make it too complicated, like, well, it depends on the fucking exact intersection between your popularity and how likely you are to win the race by itself. And then it just, to me, it gets too complicated, man. Just endorse a Democratic candidate. But I know we have a disagreement, and I love you boys. I've always loved you boys.
All right. Well, guys, I think we're going to wrap up a little bit here, but I think I want to add that was heated therapy session for Pisco, and as much as I enjoyed it, I want to end on unity here. And I know we weren't going to make a big deal out of this, but I do want to watch. Did you guys see Donald Trump posting AI videos of medbeds?
Yeah.
Oh, bro. Shit! Yeah.
So we talk about fascism and how important it is to mock fascists. So when you're president, when your fascist authoritarian crazy leader is I guess posting fabricated videos about magical beds that heal any disease, you know, any and all accusations that Joe Biden is mentally unfit, I think are going to fall out the window, or at least should be reciprocated times 5,000, because this is insane.
Breaking now, President Donald J. Trump has announced a historic new healthcare system. The launch of America's first medbed hospitals and a national medbed card for
everyone. Full disclosure, for everyone on stream, full disclosure, this is completely fabricated. This isn't a real news broadcast. Nothing in this is real.
Imagine, so like it's the med beds from like the Alien universe. So like in Prometheus, she went into her little med bed and she had a little alien abortion.
Great movie.
It's like a bed, like a theoretical bed where it just fucking cures breaks your, like heals your broken bone instantly, and you know, fucking kills your cancer cells immediately. It's like, yeah, it's non-existent technology and obvious AI.
Actually, even better, Hutch, have you seen Elysium? I feel like you'd like that film. That they literally had magical beds that cured every disease. in that one. So anyway, like just to be clear, also there's no prompt, there's no comment like, I'll be leading us here in 20 years, Trump healthcare will. No, it's just like unquestioning, like this is real, I guess, is how he's posting this. So
every American will soon receive their own MedBed card. With it,
that's him. That's him.
Yeah, and that's not that's not him saying that. That's an AI saying that. So he knows. I mean, maybe he doesn't know he didn't say this.
He doesn't know. He doesn't know what he's saying.
Receive their own MedBed card. With it, you'll have guaranteed access to our new hospitals led by the top doctors in the nation, equipped with the most advanced technology in the world. These facilities are safe, modern, and designed to restore every citizen to full health and strength. This is the beginning of a new era in American healthcare.
In this first phase, only a limited number of MedBed cards will be released.
Like,
Registration
if it's all fake, why is there this caveat of like, well, it's a limited rollout? It's like, no. This isn't happening at all. Why are you adding this weird fake stipulation about how this rollout is going to happen?
details will be announced very soon.
So yeah, I
really
really,
bizarre.
this man is insane.
Exciting.
But I mean, I'm excited for the med beds. I don't know about you guys.
I can get my gender affirming care in my med bed.
True. And you could go back like the same day if you wanted to. Just try it on for size.
Wow.
Just have like a vagina for a day. You wouldn't do that?
Yeah, no, I can go back and forth and see how I want to live.
What? Are you trans?
You wouldn't want a
You
clitoris
seem
for like a
incredulous.
couple
You're saying
hours?
you wouldn't try it out?
Go in the women's
maybe I'll
locker
try
room.
it out. Am I
Yes or
trans?
no, Pisco? Would you be a girl for a day? Yes or no?
I guess I would. Does that
You
make
could have,
me
like-
Q? I'm
You
Q
could
now.
have like 15, 20-second orgasms. That's how long women orgasms are. And men, it's like, and then you're done.
Hutch, women
Oh.
don't orgasm. Don't lie to your audience. Okay.
You could probably customize it and like put
Women
your
don't even
clit-
like sex. Hutch.
Customize.
Female
This
orgasm is a myth. That's true. It's a
This is why
liberal
we have
propaganda.
2% female audience. Wait, what are your
yourself.
numbers? Okay, you have to say I'm 5% female. All right,
No,
go,
I don't know. I've
Hutch.
I
never
think
even
like 75% of my audience is trans last time I polled. So
I don't know on Twitch or YouTube, but on TikTok, it's 50-50 for me.
Wow, 50-50. Well, TikTok
my
is
good
a more.
looks. It's my good looks.
You are a handsome man, IRI.
Oh, but yeah, no, I don't know if you
Make
guys
me
saw.
blush.
I was watching an IRI stream while I was driving, and he was talking about, oh, it's okay. Everyone ages. I'm past my prime. Bitch, you look the same as you do when you were 20. Shut up. Don't. Oh, everyone ages just like me, who stays the same for 30 years.
Have
like
you thought about
fucking
have you,
vampire.
have you thought about like growing out your beard like fuller?
Me?
Dude, that would be epic. You'd be like
I
George
do.
Washington.
Yeah, I go back and forth. I just shaved it because I went on stage, but I kept it a little short recently. But yeah, I grow it out,
No, I mean
On
like
stage with
like
you,
a-
IRI.
like big and long.
No, I mean like a Kurt Russell situation.
Maybe, yeah. Well, it fills out my face because it's long, and so if you have a little bit of thickness, it balances out a little bit.
That's what I'm saying. You should grow it out for like 2 months. I want to see what it looks like with the IRI like full beard.
I'll send you a picture. I gotta.
Oh,
All right,
shit.
guys. Last thing. Who's got stuff happening? Hutch. What's going on in the Hutch world?
Just regular streams, Sunday through Friday. Tomorrow I'll be live at 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 11:30 a.m. Eastern.
All right, Pisco. What's the word on Pisco?
We're doing Hutch appreciation streams all week. I'm sorry. Listen, I'm sorry. I get heated sometimes. I love my brothers. But no, just TikTok. I'm putting a lot of shit on TikTok at Pisco Liddy. Also Instagram at Pisco Liddy. I am doing better, and like the numbers are looking good for TikTok. And I think I'm gonna start doing those debates. I'm following in IRI's footprint. So please, if I have any call to action, it's just to follow me on TikTok and Instagram if you use those platforms. Pisco Liddy.
All right, IRI. What is happening?
Pisco, if you can go live, you can come by my stream and we can hang out for a while, even debate
Hell
a few
yeah.
people if you want and
Double
promote
team.
it.
Hell
and people
yeah.
will follow you. So, and then you
Double
can see
team 'em.
like, yeah, you can see how I operated a little bit and what words I avoid. But no, I don't have anything. I've had a lot of tech problems the last couple of weeks. I think I finally solved it, so I'm breathing a sigh of relief. But I'm just working on my play, setting it up, trying to get the signs up eventually and all that. But just streaming, debating on TikTok in the morning. And you guys can watch here on Twitch or YouTube if you want to see my TikTok debates because I stream it here. But what do you got going on, Soy Pill?
I've been roped into yet another Raging Tomato debate at 6:15 p.m. Standard Time, Pacific, which means, you know, the Jersey Shore of debates. It's against possibly the stupidest people I've ever spoken to who can't follow like an A to B argument. So if you really like those, which a lot of people don't, go tune on that. But tomorrow, I was also invited to a debate by like a complete like person I talked to like once briefly, and now somehow it's turned into an Andrew Wilson debate because Andrew Wilson just says yes to everything. I mean, he literally debates for like 8 hours straight on his own birthday because he has nothing else to do. So yeah, if you're interested in that, that's also happening tomorrow. Otherwise, I'm actually doing not as much streaming because I'm trying to crank out this video. Just to be clear, guys, by the way, did a poll. I said, girl, question mark, 55% yes. 55%
No way.
Wow.
yes. And I don't believe
biceps.
it. I truly don't believe it.
Were you there when Josiah was like ogling you in your ass?
Well, when Hutch was doing it, yeah.
Oh, that was Hutch.
Yeah,
My
stop
bad.
thinking about it.
Hutch is, you realize when we meet up in person, Hutch is going to dissect all of us and make like a Frankenstein perfect body for himself. He's going to get my ass, IRI's beard, Pisco, your brain,
Eyebrows.
and your lawyer brain, and then what?
I don't want his
That
brain.
means I'm the
Brain
ugliest
sucks.
guy? Does that mean
No,
I'm
it
the
just
ugliest
means
guy?
you have the best, biggest lawyer
Holy-
brain. I didn't
This
say
is so-
anything about it.
so
And your
you're
face,
like-
your head,
No,
Pisco. He's
you're-
taking your head.
no,
No,
this
your
is
hair.
over. So
Your
I'm the
hair. He
ugliest
needs your
guy.
hair. He needs a hair transplant. So
I guess I'm the ugliest. All right.
No,
Okay.
you should have
Yeah,
gone with
okay.
Pisco's beard. Pisco obviously has the best beard.
Oh,
Wait,
thank
hold
you,
on.
thank
Before
you
we
so
get off,
much.
Soy Pill and IRI. I know you guys have contacts for Newsom. Tell that motherfucker to disable the auto DMCA on YouTube, man, for his
I do
podcast.
not. I don't have any context.
I do.
But I agree with
I'll
you.
send him that email.
That's some bullshit,
it's
man.
so
What's he doing?
stupid. It's so dumb. Yeah.
I'm sure
Yeah.
he doesn't even know about it. It's probably some company hired to like, publish his VODs and stuff, and they just put it up.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks for being here, guys. Oh yeah, last thing. Ukrainian fundraiser in my description. But otherwise, call to action, everyone. Do not stop calling and bullying fascists. Don't stop doing it. Don't let them
Keep
scare you.
beaming.
Don't let them chill you. They're doing it, so you should do it too. So thanks for being
Stay
here,
cool.
guys. We'll see you next week.
Bye bye.
Later.